What is going to happen to home prices in 2026? Honestly, this is the question I'm getting a lot, and I can see why. You know, headlines are confusing. You're hearing one thing on TikTok, and then your neighbor is saying another thing. You're not really sure what's going to happen with the housing market or with the economy this year in 2026. And so today we're going to break down the actual facts and figures you should be paying attention to, and you can decide if maybe 2026 is the right year for you to purchase a home. So let's get one thing out of the way first, and that is home prices don't move the same everywhere in every city, in every neighborhood. There are a lot of variables that affect what's going on with home prices. So what you want to do is pay attention to what's going on in your particular area. If you have maybe a big corporate move going in, a big company moving in or out, that can affect the home prices in the area. What schools are you zoned to? Are they good schools? That can affect the home prices in the area. Do you have new construction around you? If you've got a lot of builders building a lot of inventory, well, more inventory means supply goes up, demand goes down a little bit, you've got more homes out there to sell, that can suppress home prices. So there are a lot of different things that affect how much a home is worth, and it can change very much depending on your neighborhood, what part of town you're in, and a lot of other variables. So my first piece of advice would be very specific. Pay attention to what's going on to the home prices in the area that you are interested in buying in. There are also two important distinctions to notice: price reductions and losing value. Those are two totally different things. So let's just say historically, home values have almost always risen. If you go back and look at data from any year 5-10 years ago, that home today is worth more than it was back then. So let's say you're a homeowner. You bought a home, you bought it for this price, and over the last 5 years, the value of it has increased. Well, now if we're seeing some price reductions, it doesn't mean that you've lost all your equity. It just means that right now, prices from where people have had it listed or have recently sold have maybe come down a little bit. I will tell you, in our area, in the Katy, Texas market, we have not seen a huge reduction in overall home prices. In fact, they're hovering within about 1% of where they were this time last year. So your overall home values are still very high. Now, what we say when prices are going down, does that mean price cuts? Well, we are seeing a lot of price reductions at the moment. What that is caused by is by how much inventory we have and how many sales are going on. Again, supply and demand. We've had a lot more inventory in the last few months, or last couple of years actually, than we have had since pre-COVID. And now that we have more homes on the market, that means there's more competition. Buyers are able to negotiate a little bit more. And so overall, we see homes sitting for longer on the market. When sellers are getting antsy and they want to get that home moving, they want to get it sold, a lot of times what they will do is called a price cut or a price reduction. They listed the home at $500,000. After 2 months on the market, they don't have an offer, they lower the price to $475,000. So does that necessarily mean home prices are going down? Overall in our area, they are not. But you might see some more price reductions. And what we're also seeing is a bigger gap in that list price to sales price ratio. The home was listed at $500,000, but then it sold for $475,000. Well, that means they didn't get 100% of what they asked. We are starting to see that percentage, what used to be in the peak of the pandemic, 100%, people were paying over 100% of the list price. Now we're seeing that averaging about 95 to 96% to list price in our area. So there's some room for negotiation, and we are seeing price cuts, but overall the value of homes have not necessarily gone down. So price reductions do not equal a market crash. If you're thinking back to like 2008, market crash, what a market crash is when people are being forced to sell their homes. We have a lot of distressed properties and people have to sell no matter what. That is not the environment that we are in. We have not been in that environment in a really long time. So while you might see price reductions going on out there, that does not necessarily signal that there's a problem in the housing market or that things are about to crash. Now let's talk about inventory or the supply of homes that are on the market. This is a big factor in what home prices will do. If we have way more homes on the market than we have buyers, well then home prices are gonna stay suppressed. Vice versa. Some of you might remember back during the pandemic, we had a ton of buyers, not enough homes, and that really drove the price of housing up. We had bidding wars. We had people submitting multiple offers over asking price, and that drove the value of homes up during that time period. Now we are really starting to balance out. Here in the Katy area, what we've seen with inventory and the supply is a very steady, gradual increase. Over about the last year, we have more homes on the market now than we have had since I would call pre-pandemic levels. Not a bad thing. It actually means now things are just a little more balanced. It's not hugely favoring buyers or sellers. Now let's talk about some research from the National Association of Realtors that gives us a good indication of what might happen this year in the 2026 housing market. First of all, in December of 2025, we saw a 5% increase in home sales nationwide. That is the biggest increase we have had in quite some time. Also, mortgage applications are surging right now. Mortgage applications are a great leading indicator of what's going to happen in the market, because that means all the buyers that are planning on buying this year are starting to get ready. They're talking to their lender. They're getting their pre-approval. So when we see mortgage applications go up, it really indicates that we can expect a lot more buyer demand coming in the next few months. And then the last thing I will say is just that we are expecting an overall, from NAR, 14% increase in sales and home sales this year in 2026. That is a huge increase. So everybody who has been kind of waiting, they wanted to see what was happening with the economy, they wanted to see what was happening with interest rates. We have seen interest rates tick down. They are now, as of January 2026, just below 6%. That is a great rate and might be something that gets people off the fence. So all economic indicators are pointing to a really busy year for home sales nationwide and also here in the Katy, Texas area. So what am I seeing here on the ground, working with buyers and sellers every day in the Katy area, is that homes that are well priced, that are in good condition, that are staged, that are marketed well, those homes are still selling. We are still seeing inventory move every single month. The average days on market for our area right now is hovering around 50 to 60 days. That means the average home is sitting on the market for a couple of months. But I anticipate that we will start to see that number come down as we head into the spring buying season and we have more buyers coming into the market. We start to see homes sell a little bit faster. So to wrap it up, are home prices going down? Well, the answer could be maybe. Like I said, it depends on the neighborhood you were looking at. You might have a home that sells this year for one price and 12 months ago it sold for slightly more. Again, that can just depend on what is going on in that particular area, how many homes are available, how many homes are moving. There's a lot of things that can influence prices, but it doesn't mean that home prices are going down necessarily in the way you think. We still have, I would say, an affordability issue. We have seen prices, insurance, the cost of a lot of things go up over the last few years, and those prices don't seem like they're going to be coming down significantly anytime soon. As always, if you ever have questions about the housing market or you want to know specifically what's going on in your zip code, in your neighborhood, always feel free to reach out with us. We work with buyers and sellers all the time, and we are happy to help you, share advice, information, whatever you